Hey everyone, I'm Belle Reid, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be exploring and making some music with the Buchla Easel Command and a granular glitch sampler instrument that's built in Max MSP. This instrument in particular, the Easel Command, is really new to me. I've been borrowing it for a little while from a friend, and I've been having such a great time getting to know it, finding all of the hidden sound worlds that are in all of the little corners of this instrument, and just having a really great time exploring it and making a bit of music with it. I thought it would be fun today to see what happens if I combine the Easel Command with some other aspects of my typical improvisation and compositional workflow. And often what that means for me is running my synth or my voice or my trumpet into my computer in order to do additional processing and sound generation. So that's the plan for today. But before we jump in, I just want to take a minute to walk you through what these instruments are that I have here with me. So the Buchla Easel Command is a reissue of a classic electronic instrument that was designed by Don Buchla in the 1970s called the Buchla Music Easel. This instrument was designed to be an all-in-one electronic instrument for experimental music making and sound generation. And it came out at a really interesting time in the history of electronic music, when a lot of synth designers were grappling with the idea of trying to reduce the size of the instruments that they were building and to pack a lot of sound generation and control possibilities into relatively small self-contained units. So around the same time that the Buchla Music Easel came out, we also saw the release of the Mini Moog and the ARP Odyssey. Now, these three instruments are not the same, obviously, but what they do share in common is that they were all compact keyboard-based instruments that took aspects from the designers and the company's modular systems that they had around that same time and wrapped them all up into a much more portable and tiny self-contained package. I like to think of the Music Easel as the kind of quirky, experimental cousin of the early keyboard-based mono-synth instruments that emerged in the 1970s. Now, as you can see, the Easel Command in its current form does not have the original keyboard that was in the Buchla Music Easel. But instead, there are MIDI and CV inputs that allow you to interact and control the instrument from other CV devices or MIDI controllers. So this instrument is a semi-modular synth. The audio path through the Easel Command is more or less completely fixed. But what I think is so exciting and interesting about this instrument is that the control path is more or less completely open and redefinable. So inside of the Easel Command, you have a sequencer, an envelope generator, a pulsar, a modulation oscillator, a primary complex oscillator, and 2 low-pass gates, and a random voltage generator. And using this colorful patch bay here at the bottom, you're able to route modulation signals to and from all of these various modules inside of the command. You can also alter the control flow through this instrument using these switches on each of the modules. So for example, with this envelope generator, when this switch here is set in the center, it is receiving triggers from the pulsar here. Now, if we were to switch this switch down, for example, then the envelope generator would be receiving triggers from the sequencer instead. So as I mentioned before, I was really curious to see what would happen if I combined the world of the Easel Command with some of my other kind of approaches to sound manipulation and sound generation that I like to use in my improvising and compositional practice. And for me, a lot of that hinges around using Max to process the sound that I'm producing either on my synths or my trumpet or my voice, and to also create new ways of interacting with my instrument in real time. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this glitch granular sampler patch that I have here on my computer. So in a nutshell, the way this patch works is that it allows me to capture little fragments of sound and then to play them back at different speeds, forwards, backwards, at the original speed, twice as fast, twice as slow, and so on. And I can capture sound either based on a certain set duration of time, for example, 30 milliseconds or 300 milliseconds of time, or I can set things up so that whenever the incoming audio from my microphone or my synthesizer goes over a certain level, it's going to trigger the patch to start recording. And then whenever it drops back down below that level, it's going to stop recording and start playing back the fragments of sound. I am really enjoying this particular interaction because you're able to create kind of grain and texture layers where you can get something sampled and looping and playing back. And then as long as you are able to keep playing at a quieter dynamic, kind of below the trigger threshold, you're able to add different layers and kind of interact with that glitchy texture. And then as soon as you want to shake things up and have a new sample played back, you can just kind of push the volume a little bit or make a slightly more pointed gesture, and it will trigger the record buffer to start recording again, and so on. So in addition to the granular sampling aspect of this patch, I also have some fairly simple spatial effects that are set up here. So there's a chorus, a reverb, and a delay. And what is really fun to experiment with is randomizing various settings on all three of these sound processors every time the glitch sampler receives a new piece of incoming audio. So that same trigger that's used to open the record buffer on the granular sampler is being used to randomize different aspects of the delay, the reverb, and the chorus, which is just creating a lot of really fun, kind of artificial and impossible spatial effects. All right, so full disclosure, I just got the idea to pair these two instruments together yesterday night. And so far, the farthest I've gotten is hooking the Easel Command up, getting sound into max, and just verifying that it actually does work and that it triggers the glitch patch. I haven't actually done any improvising or performing with this yet. And I thought it would be cool to do this in real time live with you so that we could just see how it goes and see what kinds of sounds come out of it. All right, so with that disclaimer out of the way, I am going to make a little bit of sound. All right, that's it for today. If you're curious to learn a little bit more about these patches and instruments and what's going on here, over on my Patreon page, I have an extended breakdown of the Easel Command patch and the granular glitch sampler patch as well. So if you are wanting to check those out, you can use the link below this video in the description to head over there and to get deeper into this whole instrument setup. Also on my Patreon page, there is a download of the full performance and improvisation from today, so you can check that out as well. Thanks so much for listening and watching. I'm going to be exploring a few more ideas of how to integrate the Easel Command into my setup before I have to send it back to my friend. So if you want to be notified of when these videos come out, please subscribe, and I will see you next time. Take care. Thank you.